Personally, I'm looking forward to a certain HBO show returning in the very near future, but there are, unironically, some people looking forward to The Last of Us Season 2, knowing that the events of the first game, the well-loved game that I remember playing at the time, back in 2013. Was it back in 2013 when it first launched? I'd being engrossed with the game. I thought the story was tremendous, okay? It was a very complex character study that had me hooked from the beginning all the way through to the end. I thought it told a complete story, didn't really need a second game. And then the second game came out in 2020 and proved that in fact The Last of Us didn't need a second game. But that's well-worn ground at this point in time that is unfortunately gonna have to get drug up because Season 2, well, they've already cast their Abby, okay, and they ran out of material. They sped run the first game, so they've gotta figure out what the hell they're ultimately gonna do with the Last of Us Part 2, which was the nicest way I can put it, a divisive game. Kind of like the way The Last Jedi was a divisive Star Wars movie, but it's kind of strange, right? Because the marketing for The Last of Us Season 1 was all about we're going to adhere to the source material, we're going to be true and honest to it, okay? This is going to be serialized retelling of the game that you know and love. And it's like, okay, cool. But it's like, okay, if you're going to take that approach for Season 1, what are you going to do with Season 2? Okay, and Season 1 was a success. The ratings continued to grow, unlike several other shows that are out there. And yeah, a lot of people, the people who watched it, enjoy it. Okay, I'm not going to say, it lit the world on fire, but it did generally well for HBO, for Max, for their streaming show. And it definitely did a lot of good for hopeful, and future video game adaptations. And then, of course, the Halo TV show came out, and, well, let's just say, Season 2 kind of set back in the anticipation of, faithful long-form video game storytelling. But we'll have to see what happens with Season 2, 3, and apparently 4, because, okay, it's been a really long time. I think I played through it once, probably when it released. I got the collector's edition. I actually have it stored away. It's just under a bunch of stuff, but it came in like a big box, it's a PS3 one, okay? Big box like that. So, like I said, I liked it. The gameplay was outdated, mostly because, well, as much as Sony exclusive games have become a bit of a meme for their third-person action genre unto themselves, yeah, that was actually playing out, not so much as it's been characterized within the past couple of years. It's been like that for a very long time. You can kind of run it back all the way to the beginning of the PS3. And I would argue that was about the last time that the games industry was doing anything revolutionary, but that's another topic for another time. We're here to talk about The Last of Us and the fact that, they're going to be trying to wring out one game for 3 seasons. So you know what that tells me right there? That they're going to try to maximize Pedro Pascal for as much as possible. Because we've heard a couple of weeks ago that he wrapped shooting for Season 2. And if they're going to be faithful to the source material, he really shouldn't be in much of Season 2. Unless they're going to be doing some flashbacks in Seasons 3 and 4. He won't be necessary if you know anything about those games. And frankly, why should you? They're terrible. It's also weird what's happening with TV in general, right? Because, this could end up needing 4 seasons. But the way that they're approaching their seasons, I'm not a big fan of. Even with the show on HBO that I'm looking forward to, House of the Dragon, that's coming out within the next couple of weeks. I forget specifically what Sunday it is, but I think it's 2 weeks from now. I think it's next Sunday. But I'm super hyped on it. I've been talking about it for a while, okay? Because Season 1, if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it if you have even a passing interest in that type of stuff, okay? And good storytelling with complex characters and well-written spectacle, except for Episode 9. But Season 2 is apparently only going to have 8 episodes. Like, Season 1 had 10 episodes, which even, George R.R. Martin and showrunner Ryan Condal wanted 13 episodes. They're going to be telling, that story over the course of 3 or 4 seasons. And because they're shorter seasons, that means that they're going to come out a little quicker. So, Season 1 came out in 2022. Season 2 is coming out 2 years later. By the time that it wraps up, it's just about going to line up with the debut of Season 1 in 2022. So, 2 full years. But that's the way that they're going with this. Higher budgets, smaller episode counts, more seasons. So yeah, Hollywood's not really learning the lessons of other mediums because, okay, this is actually a problem of what would end up being The Last of Us source material. The reason that the AAA games space is falling completely on its face right now is because there's not enough games coming out, and the ballooning budgets, which Hollywood is also very familiar with as well, lead to these 4, 5, 6-year development cycles, and then you end up running $200, $300, $400 million budgets on these projects, and because you have that much money at stake, you have a lot of people in your ear trying to make the safest game possible. Why you've seen very little innovation in the AAA space, why there's so much homogeneity at the top, because everybody's scared because there's so much money riding on this. So yeah, it looks like Hollywood, at least in the TV space, is trying to solve that issue by cranking out more seasons. But you have less content in those seasons, so you're just going to end up pissing people off and telling truncated stories or dragging stuff out, leading to people just, I don't know, maybe waiting for all of it to be concluded before they want to watch it because they just don't want to be drug along for too long. Because when you have other streamers, other companies just dropping entire seasons wholesale, that's a different type of model people have gotten used to, and there's a lot of competing philosophies that are out there. So it's nice that there's going to be more frequent output, but if you're not telling a complete story, that's just going to piss people off in a different sense of them having to wait so long for the next season to come out. It's entertainment's in a weird place right now. There's a lot of problems, and guy with a fire extinguisher, yeah, instead of trying to put out any of those specific fires, he's just kind of pointing it right in his face and pulling the trigger. But we'll get to Neil Druckman soon enough. HBO is currently at work filming season 2, which Entertainment Weekly can confirm will consist of 7 episodes, and 2 episodes shorter than season 1. 7 episodes. Holy shit, bro. Do you remember when TV shows, okay, used to be 22, in the case of 24 episodes long? Like even The Sopranos. Like, okay, I got my box set that's over there. Those seasons were, what, 15 episodes? Like even season 6 that got cut into 2 separate seasons, part 1 and part 2. They had 8 episodes apiece, and they aired, what was that, in the spring and in the fall? Now we're down to 8 episode seasons. Wow. We don't think that we're going to be able to tell the story of part 2 even within 2 seasons, because we're taking our time and going interesting pathways, which we did a little bit in season 1 too. Yeah, and from the people that watched it said that, yeah, generally speaking, it was pretty faithful outside of, episode 3, which was the most divisive one, mostly because, well, it wasn't a Last of Us story. It was just a big gay story that they wanted to tell. That's what it was. I'm not being hyperbolic. It was a story about Bill. Hello, Bill! His love interest that really didn't end up playing all that much into the story. Bill was very much a character from the game, but I needed his own complete episode of a 9-episode show is a little bit beyond me, but okay. While additional seasons beyond that have not been ordered by Home Box Office Network, oh good, you know that they're official when they put the full HBO name there. Creators Craig Mazin and Neil Druckman express their hope for a 4-season order. We feel like it's almost assuredly going to be the case that as long as people keep watching and we can keep making more television, season 3 will be significantly larger, and indeed the story may require season 4. Yeah, I've watched multiple reviews, a few breakdowns of The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, if you end, which is going to be interesting, right? Unless you completely and totally reshuffle what you're doing with season 2 or the story of Last of Us Part 2, your big hook and the most polarizing thing that you can do will not make people excited for season 3, let alone a season 4. So you better be changing a bunch of different stuff, right? You're trying to attract that off-season LPGA market, but that's totally up to you. But here's the thing, right? Like if you're going to be open for a season 4, okay, and a season 3 to be significantly larger, like, yeah, there's a lot of story beats that you can hit if you're trying to adapt, part 2 of The Last of Us. But if you're hoping to make this last even a little bit longer, to make this a more recurring show, you're going to need a bit more source material. And good news for that, because Naughty Dog Neil Druckman teases multiple single-player games in development. Oh, great. Are you going to completely and totally shit on the Uncharted franchise? Like, Neil Druckman was responsible for pushing out the incredibly talented Amy Hennig, who made the Uncharted franchise, the poster series for Sony during the 7th generation. Okay, Nathan Drake becoming synonymous with the PS3 because, yeah, at launch, it was far and away the best title, okay? And then Uncharted 2, which is highly regarded of the best game of that generation, which I would be tough to argue against. And then Uncharted 3, it was a bit of a step down, but it still is not a terrible game. It's been a long time, and quite frankly, I can't remember a lot of it, but I do remember playing it, and it's when Neil Druckman started to come in, and then, of course, I think it was the launch or within the next couple of years of the PS4, you had a great setup. Amy Hennig had a great setup with, the Drake brothers coming together for one final mission, and Neil Druckman's big addition to that story is to put a black chick in it and make her lame and gay. It's like, oh, for God's sakes. So wonderful that you could have Proto Abby in there because, she was the overly muscular female ass kicker before Abby. It's like, okay, Neil, we know that you have a fetish. So how are you going to make the Uncharted franchise about Nathan Drake's daughter, I don't know, the Raiden Wombs, a la Crystal Dynamics, brand new round-faced Lara Croft? Oh, God. Gonna suck. I don't know, maybe it's gonna be The Last of Us Part 3, where you can just go ahead and have this big old scissoring adventure in the post-apocalypse. Nobody's looking forward to a Naughty Dog game. Like, the last thing that they did ended up having to be canceled. Oh yeah, we're gonna do the spin-off. We're gonna have the multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 2. Don't worry, guys, it's finally gonna oh no, wait, we're canceling it. Don't worry about it. Don't look forward to it at all. We're not gonna do that for the remaster, because that's all they've been able to do is just remaster The Last of Us. And it's like, we're kind of tired of that. The Last of Us was fine. Actually, it was revolutionary. It was great. It was well received back in the cut in 2013. But can you do something new? Instead of just, I don't know, putting a new coat of paint, instead of porting it onto every new system, and then The Last of Us Part 2, if you could just keep that away from anybody's machine, we'd all be better off for it. Anything? No, okay, just trust us, we've got something cooking. And it's like, no, you don't. We know you don't, and if you do, it's not going to be anything that we're going to want, actually. Naughty Dog has big plans for future single-player games. Over a decade ago, the developer Naughty Dog found resounding success with The Last of Us. Yeah, over a decade ago. And then there's 2 games in that franchise. 2 games and a DLC, ruining one of the best characters in the franchise in Chloe and teaming her up with one of the most abhorrent characters, Neil Druckman's fanfic. The story of a hardened smuggler and a loudmouthed teenager crossing a treacherous post-apocalyptic United States. You notice how they don't even make mention of the Last of Us Part 2? No. Druckman conceived of the idea of Joel and Ellie traversing a desolate United States in college, but never considered the concept to be a video game material. Yeah, because this guy hates video games, okay, so much so that I don't know if we're going to hear anything over Summer Games Fest, or maybe it's going to wait until the Game Awards. Both of those are under the same Dorito Pope umbrella, so that's why it might already have an announcement, because I think this video will be coming out on Friday, and Summer Games Fest is, at least its big press conference is going to be taking place Friday afternoon. So I don't know, maybe we have an idea as to what Naughty Dog's going to be doing, but Naughty Dog's Neil Druckman says the studio's new game could redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming. Why do you care so much what other people think of gaming? It is the most profitable by a multiple of 5 entertainment platform in the world. You keep on wanting to make movies like stupid, convoluted Hideo Kojima, knowing that your concepts just aren't good enough. So you want mainstream appeal over putting out a good game, over telling, a compelling narrative, which a lot of people can with good gameplay, but you don't want to be hampered down with little button presses that a bunch of nerds do. You want to have industry acclaim. You want people to go, oh, that's Neil Druckman, legendary screenwriter, and the brains behind the steroided out Abby in the post-apocalypse. That's Neil. Oh, he's such a wizened individual. We just have to listen to his groundbreaking, industry-defining concepts. You're a joke in gaming circles, bro. If that's what you're looking for, instead of just, I don't know, making a compelling game, all power to you. There was a point in time where you could slap Naughty Dog's logo on a cardboard box and I'd play with it. But at this point in time, you could put the Naughty Dog logo and you could slap it on the ass of a 19-year-old Scandinavian swimsuit model, send her to my front door, and I'd have to tell her to leave because I know it's coming from Neil Druckman, and their chances are there's going to be a little bit of extra in the bathing trunks. And nobody other than Neil is going to appreciate, because he is the master of subversion after all. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.